Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Noel. This is James, and we are the Benchstarters. Wanted to drop a quick little episode on you guys. The NBA season is going pretty well so far. Kind of everything that we thought it would be, and but here lately, a couple of we've had this argument a couple times. This topic of ring culture has kind of popped up on us, and we just wanted to give you guys our thoughts and have you guys, interact with us and give us your thoughts on what you think of the culture surrounding whether or not players, whether their worth is tied to rings. Obviously, with the Draymond Green situation and Charles Barkley situation, we decided, kind of step into that, and let's go ahead and get into it, man. Kind of my thing with the rings, kind of how it is with all, I feel like my takes is like, I like to take a balanced approach on it. I like to, your rings mean something. Yes, they do. They don't shape all of your legacy as an NBA player, as we all know. Yeah. We can run off 20 names off the top of our head of NBA players that have never won a ring, but are probably one of the greatest players that have ever touched the court. So obviously, like you said, with Draymond Green, he came out and he was like, "You can't talk to me, you can't sit at this table, no rings, no sitting at the table," which is asinine. Yeah, it's foolish. Everybody knew he was kind of trolling. He didn't even take himself serious when he said that. But what I don't like is when another layer of it is I don't like when people I'll just use the big example, like LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I don't like when people use LeBron James' finals record against him when it comes to saying stuff like, "Oh, well, Jordan won all 6 of his." Why is LeBron 3-6? That's a terrible record. There's all sorts of other factors and things like that that shape that. There's no way that you can there's no way that you can just flip flop situations and say, "Oh, Jordan would have went 9-0 and Bron would have went 3-3." I feel like that's what ring culture is, I guess. I don't know if we're coining that term or anything like that, but that's kind of what it is people just applying these filters to everybody blindly when there's other factors that need to be taken into consideration. How do you feel about it?
So for me, the ring culture is, if you're going down as people saying the greatest of all time or something like that, you have to at least win a championship.
Correct.
But since this is an NCAA and March Madness and it's a single game elimination, the best team always wins a 7-game series. Mm-hmm. Or the better matchup, they're always going to win the 7-game series. Mm-hmm. Even if you remember the Dallas Mavericks against the We Believe.
No, I believe. I remember, man. Leave me alone.
But that, it was a good matchup. You know what I'm saying? For them.
The Warriors won all 3 matchups, just for those who didn't really remember. The Warriors in the regular season won all 3 regular season matchups, including the last one that was right before the playoffs. So going in, they had all sorts of psychological advantages over the Mavericks.
Yeah. So the best team's always going to win the series. Mm-hmm. And for me, I always tell people, to win a championship, you need at least 2 or 3 future Hall of Fame players to even have a chance of winning it. Mm-hmm. So when you don't have that, it doesn't set you up. But history only tells itself. If you go down every single championship, the only team that might not have it was the Detroit Pistons. But I feel like Ben Wallace is a Hall of Famer. I feel like Chauncey Billups is a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. And if Rasheed Wallace wanted to be probably the best power forward of all time, he probably could have been, if he really wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Put it in the work.
In the other factors that played into it. I think Richard Hamilton played a big part of it.
He's a 20-point scorer.
So they had at least 2.5 and if you're looking at it and you're looking at the game, you're like, okay, yeah, these guys are really tough. Mm-hmm. So you have at least 2. But I always want to go down as like, if Jason Kidd didn't win one with the Mavericks, does his career change any? I mean, him winning that maybe put a cherry on top, but did it change his career?
When it comes to that, for me, obviously I'm a Mavericks fan, grew up in Dallas. When it comes to that, for me, he wasn't exactly like the best or the second best or really even the third.
He wasn't.
He was
quarterbacked the offense.
Exactly. He ran the offense. He led the team. He was very integral into them winning a lot of games that they probably wouldn't have won without his veteran presence. But to your point, if he hadn't won it, they had it lost in the second round or something. No, he would have still been one of the best point guards of all time. Probably, what is he in top 5 in assists and steals? He's multiple All NBAs, multiple All Star games. He's got awards galore. That wouldn't have really changed much when it comes. But what you can say though, I will say that when it comes to the other end of the spectrum, if you're naming people you got guys like Karl Malone and John Stockton, they didn't get it done, and like you said, that hurt them. That hurts them in their standing as far as, because you don't really hear people say, "Oh, Karl Malone is a top 10 NBA player of all time." You actually hear people bring up Dirk more being higher up on the ranking than him, and that's because Dirk got it done, and he won his Finals MVP. KG got it done, got his ring. So you always see those guys higher up. You don't hear Charles Barkley's name either, just because he made I think he made one Finals, I believe, was that 2.
Yeah.
He made one Finals with Phoenix. I want to say
sure.
Did the Rockets make one when he got there? I don't think he did. So just one, but he didn't get it done. And you don't hear people mentioning him up there with the Tim Duncans, the KGs, and I guess we'll throw Dirk in there too.
Which all these guys were monsters. So
all of them.
I think so. There is a point when you're comparing careers, and you can. Like I always say, sometimes it is based off of the opponents that they play. The matchups always.
Facts.
I think it's always a matchup thing, because it's never win one game and you're done. Mm-hmm. So it's always going to be the mental dogfight that coaches and other players go through, but also just sometimes you win the matchup, you win the finals off of signing people in the playoff. In the free agency. Mm-hmm. Sometimes earning trading, sometimes that's how you win.
Yeah, mid-season trades and late signings, late acquisitions. So that I wanted to address that Draymond situation just because I'd like to say that I love Draymond Green as a player. You'll never see me say he's not a valuable player in the NBA. You'll never hear me say, "Oh, well, he's not this or he's not that." Draymond Green is a great player. That being said, we can't have that. What he was saying, which I said he was
probably trolling, but there's some people who truly
believe that
that.
We're talking about Charles Barkley. We're talking about 25 and 12 on, and that's a regular year. That's not his MVP numbers, right? We're talking about Charles Barkley, and then we're talking about Draymond Green, who is a good player in his own right.
Yeah, he's a superstar role player.
Exactly, but we're talking about a superstar,
a franchise,
of a whole franchise, carried 2 franchises for a while, versus we got Draymond Green.
We I always tell people, it's also he's trolling, and he probably doesn't really think anything about it, but for just the regular viewers who might really think that, understand the guys Gary Payton's career doesn't change because he won one of the Heat. No. It doesn't really change. Jason Kidd, maybe if you're trying to compare him to maybe Steve Nash or Chris Paul or something like that, maybe it might elevate him. But at the same time, he was a player on that team, but he wasn't the franchise guy. And Mitch Richmond won with the Lakers.
Exactly, very late
in
his career.
So but that doesn't take away from Steve Nash. It doesn't take away from John Stockton, Karl Malone. Doesn't take away from Dominique Wilkins.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't
All
take
great
away.
players. All Hall
Jeremy
of
Corbin.
Famers.
All Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famers. First ballot, I might add, because Steve is definitely getting in on his first ballot. Carl got in first ballot. Stockton got in. Like those guys, the ones that are like making all NBA first teams and perennial all-stars, and they're winning individual top awards like MVP or Defensive Player of the Year, things of that. Like those guys, they almost you almost can't really like judge them the same as you do the other players. Like when you're winning top individual awards and you go to the playoffs and you just run into a team like that has like the matchup over you, like there's not much you can do unless you are the GOAT. Like you are one of the 3 players that's like, I'm GOAT status. So like this is a bad matchup for my team, but I'm gonna will us to win because I am a Michael Jordan, I am a LeBron, I am a Kareem. You know what I'm saying? Or Magic. Throw Magic at whichever one you want to throw in there. So like when it comes to like those type of guys, then you can kind of, because they've shown improve. Like we know LeBron has carried a very weak team to the finals 2 or 3 times. A very weak team. We've seen Jordan like actually like go up against one of the greatest teams of all time, like the Boston Celtics in the 80s, and absolutely like will his team to like almost
to playing, like to competing,
like you know what I'm saying? Like they wouldn't even had no type of chance without Jordan. So like those type of guys, like that's the difference between those type of guys and the names that we named before that are all NBA, that are really, really, really good players, but they're not GOAT status because they're not able to push those teams like past against all odds. But it does not take away from them the fact that they did not get a ring because all sorts of circumstances and factors go into that. So,
like I said, just sometimes you run them against. I mean, how lucky can you get in your John Stockton when you run up against Michael Jordan?
I mean, yeah. What are you gonna do?
They only had that little 2-year window when the Rockets won it.
Yeah. And
that was your window.
That was your window. You didn't take it.
And it's tough. It's tough. So don't let the ring culture, don't let winning rings take away from the greatness of the players. And I think the biggest thing that we always say is the continued greatness, the continuous excellence. Every single year, those guys still, as long as they're playing, they put up. They play their hardest. They the best player possible. Put up numbers, and we're not stat guys or anything, so we're not gonna ever throw stats out. But
of course not.
They played hard. They did the most of what they can do. But when you win, franchises win in the off season and in the free agency and trades.
Who wants to go to Utah? Who wants to go to Milwaukee? Who wants to go to? Like it's little stuff like that, which I mean it's a big deal, but it's like it's little when it comes to what people factoring it into how like teams win. Yeah. Like LA is like set up to
it's LA.
Miami,
Houston is
Houston.
Miami is Miami.
Like I wish we can't really say the same about New York at the moment, but even still, like
when they get it together,
they're still the biggest market in the world. So it's like that's a factor as well. But yeah, we kind of went deep into it, but I just wanted to like address that as far as like the ring culture. I mean, a lot of people they don't know that there's layers that build that message up, that hold it up. That's really you shouldn't really pay attention to that because there was a whole lot of other factors that affect it. But yeah, man, that was that we just wanted to address that really quick. Appreciate you guys tuning into us. Go subscribe on YouTube. Go follow us on IG. Follow our Twitter as well. The Benchstarters. And we out, man.